at the big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome back in. 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. Pretty impressive right across the board. I'm going to give you a few numbers coming up here for individual moves so far this week that caught my attention, to say the least. Here's one of those today. UPST, among others, having quite the day still, holding on to a better part of 9% to the upside, struggling at $30 a little bit right now as the overall market kind of chops around at day highs as well. For the most part, a green board. Yeah, Apple downside still, but it was a lot worse. Obviously, better part of 3% when I sat down this morning, back to just 1 and change. The rest, however, of tech doing its job to offset that and more, including, yeah, NVIDIA and AMD, 3+% to the upside. So chips specifically, semiconductors specifically, having quite the day here. Google, Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, to name a few here in the more software-centric names, having a positive end to the week as well. Look at banks right across the board. Huge moves here. BAC up 3.3%. Morgan Stanley almost 4% to the upside. JP Morgan not quite as good, but still positive on the day. 1.2% as yields continue to tumble. We have the 30-year, the 10-year, the 2-year even, all down significantly for the third day in a row. So helping the market overall following that jobs number this morning. Earnings from Lilly were actually not that bad, but 1.6% downside. XOM and the rest of the energy group here downside with oil. It was actually higher when we first sat down this morning, but has done nothing but sell off since we got that jobs number, since we got that PMI data early on this morning as well. There was a court ruling that came through for Coinbase around lunchtime, or 12:30, I think it was. They were talking about that Dogecoin lawsuit. It was actually in their favor. It didn't really move on that, but up anyways for coin. So a nice day for them. Fed's Barkin was talking up a storm throughout the midday. This was just one of many comments that kind of stood out. Barkin saying, not sure if the Fed has reached their peak of the hike cycle. So still leaving that door open for the possibility of more increases to come. Remember, we saw after that number at 8:30, even if you go out to December on the Fed funds tool, down to less than 20% chance going into the end of the year that we will get another quarter point to the increase, or to the upside for interest rates. If you missed that release this morning, non-farm payrolls for October, 150,000 versus 190,000 expected. The consensus 180. So downside unemployment rate, downside 3.9% versus 3.8%. All of these numbers really, even the hourly earnings, 4.1 versus 4.2, downside as well. So that really helped things out right out of the gate at 8:30 this morning. And then we get this ISM data at 10 o'clock that was also in line with expectations or slightly lower, adding to this move overall. Okay, let's jump into a few things we were talking about. If you're with us in the first hour of the day, make sure you join us every single day. We tee up what is to look at throughout the session. This one was top of the watch list this morning. Apple 1.2% now. As I mentioned, well off the lows from the pre-market. It's been a grind to the upside. Not looking too healthy right now, actually, as the market kind of gets a downtick here. But it was the forecast, guys, a problem off earnings for Apple.
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously, we can talk about Apple beating on the top and the bottom line, which we already know that they did, and then not going green yet today. I say yet because it's not, the day is not over. It's technically speaking, obviously the bet, the bet went in. It wasn't really a bet. It was the proclamation of Sharif will end up in his favor, technically speaking. But then there was a poll this morning where you guys judged otherwise, and it still could go green. I will say this: I was shorting one level on this stock, and it was off the 175 in the pre-market. I looked at the high that we got into on that number, on the economic number, the non-farm payroll. It was okay for a hot minute, stopped out, tried it again when it was over under at VWAP, and the rest of it's just kind of chop city. Can I zoom? There we go. That gets a better scale when you do that. Now all of a sudden, you're seeing it try to hold on to VWAP. The problem with this is you're off the highs trying to hold VWAP as the market is testing the absolute top. So it's not as if Apple is relatively strong. It's almost still in the relatively weak bucket. But the way this could play out is if Apple were to rally, And I see Meta's getting off the schneid a little bit. Like, if those can start to go, you can drag some of this up and maybe punch through the high, because you can't just have the chips drag us the whole way here if we're going to go from 1.2% up to 2% kind of day in the market. You're going to have to get green in Apple. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to get a cookie today. And that being said, I acknowledge that I moved the goalposts and then put the pressure on by putting a poll in the chat, knowing full well that the vote was going to come out. Yes, Sharif should have to buy everybody Starbucks if Apple goes green. Like, who's going to say no? There's no consequence for Sharif. That being said, you guys did vote. So I'm sure if Apple goes green, I'm going to celebrate anyways and then hold Sharif to that. But I do not think this looks relatively strong. Apple, to me, looks weak. Just understand that in my heart, I want this thing to go upside.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, again, we talked about some of these key levels earlier in the morning, that 174 and that 176 as well, kind of that consolidation high off of the earnings right there. And we can't seem to get past this consolidation post-earnings. We saw the crazy move that we had, a nice little pop up into 183s, and then this consolidation before we drop back down into that 170. And coming in today, Neil, take a look at this. These prices are being defended quite nicely on Apple right here off of that after hours consolidation. Opening range high, well, not the opening range high, but that consolidation in the first half hour or so high, and then now the midday consolidation as well, kind of struggling to get past that 176 half. So I think going forward, that's definitely something to keep in mind, but VWAP holding quite well as well.
Yeah, we're just talking about ticket prices. That's what CNBC is talking about. This was that data I was talking about. Shout out to Bespoke Invest. I mean, look at some of these weekly moves, Sharif. Like, Roku's up 52% this week.
Wow.
Affirm 33.8%, DoorDash up 30%, Generac, DraftKings 28% pins. I mean, all of these just absolutely impressive all the way down to the bottom. Something called Ultragenics Pharma up 21.5% if you weren't paying attention either. But yeah, I mean, the Russell, IWM, somebody pointed that out this morning, having just a monster week and a rebound after, I mean, months, let's be honest, to the downside for small caps. So yeah, good to see. Much needed bounce here for some of these. Let's touch on Block here, coming off their earnings report. It was an interesting look. I mean, a lot of it pointed towards what happened to Bitcoin so far this year. If you haven't checked the chart, it's up huge. Square has a huge holding of Bitcoin. I'll get it. We learned this morning it was around 27,500 was their average price.
Yeah, not a bad look at all. Guys, their profits climbed 21% year over year, beating analyst estimates. Revenue climbed 24% year over year on the quarter, beating analyst estimates. So they obviously beat on the bottom and the top line. The guidance, not bad either. The street was looking for $1.5 billion. They guided between 1.66 to 1.68, so it was a good look there. And their Cash App continued to grow, 34% year-over-year growth. And the Square, their point-of-sale terminal there that used by small businesses grew as well, 12% year-over-year.
This thing was an absolute rocket ship after the close yesterday on this report. But however, has been a little tricky so far today. Not much to do here. I mean, unless you're looking short, it's been a bit of a grind ever since about 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, it was. There's no question it was a grind. I think I made one slip up in the long. Well, I don't think I did. I know I made one slip up in the long off of this 50 level, because sometimes at 9:30 when there's profit taking, you don't want to just sit in front of the level. You want to allow it to bounce and then just play the bounce wherever it happens to be around that key price. So I get in early and stop out, and then, well, this is where it bounced, 49.75. So then I start playing off of that level. You get a few good scalp trades in, and eventually give it up. So it was bad to good, and then the last entry, we did take some profit and then stopped out. So all in all, if you're going to go long and it looks like that, then that's going to end up okay. It's just that one entry. But there's something I was saying to, we were talking about this just before we came on, Obi and myself, and we're getting into that the first half an hour trading. It's something I usually say when it gets to 10 o'clock. If you had preconceived notions or levels that you liked, or just an overall trading like strategy or concept that you wanted for the open, at 10 o'clock, just kind of go back and reassess that, or go back to those levels and ask yourself what it looks like. And one of the things that this has never occurred to me until now, what would happen if you were just take out the first 30 minutes of the day, just pretend that none of that is there? So if I'm looking at Square as a gap up, trying to find support around this, like, I mean, when it broke down to 53, you had like 50 is consolidation, 50 is a round number. It's Friday. Like, what do I think about the 50 level at the open? So I'm thinking dip buy into 50 because it's up. Now, if you take out all of this in the first half an hour and then just look at what happens at 10 o'clock, all you will see is a failed breakout at 50. You'll have the pre-market levels you can look at. So it fails the pre-market bottom and then consolidates underneath 50. That's the first thing that happens if you throw out that first whipsaw action of the 30 minutes. And without that bias of it bouncing a few times off 50, all you see is a clear short at the $50 level. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be true, but every single stock I looked at today that I used that lens on, it was pretty easy to determine what the trend would be. So when you hear Dan and a lot of people talk about that opening range and how you should be very, very patient and respect what it's telling you at 10 o'clock and after it, this is why. Because early on, there's some scalping opportunities to have, and you can get some fantastic levels if you end up being right, but you do not want to get stubborn about fighting those levels. Like, if I'm still thinking long on Square after this, it is abject disaster. Just one more thing before, you know what, we're gonna get to DraftKings, so no point. But that's it. Just do not get stubborn with that opening idea that you have when it's telling you something else in the first half an hour. You've got to be able to get away from it. That's how you can come out somewhat unscathed when you're against the grain. You have to have a lot of discipline.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just looking a little left here on the hourly on SQ, and something interesting I've found here is last earnings were I guess not that great. We sold off quite heavily off of the previous earnings report. And take a look here, kind of this horizontal support area here at that 56, and then kind of steps down into 52 before really accelerating. But take a look at this. Last night, when Block reported, let's just pull up the 15-minute here so it's a little bit cleaner. That same kind of 52, 53, it pushes that level, fails to follow through, and you've only made relatively lower highs off of those prices. Kind of a shelf a little bit here, just on top of that 52, but selling definitely strong off of that very same level here, and we're getting that bit of continuation, that $50 break. So looking left again, where do I see a potential a level of support? Right here at that 47, 48-ish level going into that. That seems like the next area where we may find some support here on Block. And now, as I'm saying that, this thing is making fresh lows, so that may be in store.
Let's talk coin, another earnings report we were touching on. When we came back on there was a court ruling that came out during lunchtime with regards to their Dogecoin. There was a lawsuit that was filed against them on promoting, or on the promoting side of Dogecoin went in their favor. Wasn't much of a reaction to that. I think it was around here. We came right back down. Obviously, have pulled in since then. But earnings, yeah, not good after the close yesterday. Ends up being a positive day, though.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing here. I mean, revenue rose 14.2% year over year on the quarter, but trading revenue declined substantially, especially they really rely on this to trade essentially any type of crypto product available on their system. And so the point I was making this morning is when we get the spot Bitcoin ETF, that may drop even further because then all of a sudden I can trade that ETF through my brokerage and I don't need Coinbase anymore. So I feel like there may be a bit of a headwind for them coming up, but obviously the move up in BTC and ETH helping a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get going here again, actually. Both the S&P and NASDAQ, just with move back to the upside, guys. So maybe a positive close in that.
We always, yeah, well, I'm starting to think so. I just put a trailing stop on DraftKings, and I guess we'll get to DraftKings because it's next. So, but I'll get the coin. Sometimes it's like old Neil, and I say old Neil, a lot of times I would have probably tried the short 2 or 3 times in Coinbase today. Just looking at the daily chart and seeing the way that it wicked here. But given what happened yesterday, yesterday was everything that could squeeze, did squeeze. and was showing you that over and over and over again. So there would have been shots that you could have taken. Like I probably would have been able to make a winning trade at the open, shorting Coinbase here, and then like everything else would have been maybe just giving it all back. So it could have been flat on the day or something. But instead, just how about don't fight the squeezing name to the upside? And suddenly that 85 level has been support. If you throw out, like once you get to here, about 1030, it's been support the whole way. Now, if this breaks 85 to the downside and there's profit taking, that wouldn't surprise me, but the market seems to want these highs. I want to say I was a little bit disciplined with this, so I'm pretty happy with that. Chris RML, please clarify which 50 sometimes can't make, okay. So if you ever hear me say the 50 period moving average, I am only ever talking about the simple on a daily. I don't use moving averages on my intraday charts. So I have a 50 simple and a 200 simple on my daily chart. That's it. Oh, that's not true. If I pull a weekly chart up, I'll have the 50 and 200 on a weekly as well. I don't use those on an intraday chart. So the only line you're going to see on my intraday chart is going to be VWAP. If I add something, I'd let you guys know. Like I've toyed with having other things out there, and if I am using them, I would let you guys know. But if I say 50 simple, that's always on the daily. I understand that's different from everybody else in the show, but everyone has their own configuration, and that's a fantastic question. I think you should ask that every single time. Mohammed, we'll get to that super chat in a second, but I'll let Obi talk a little coin or maybe crypto if he wants.
Yeah, Coinbase, again, earnings from yesterday, still can't really get above this this kind of pop that we had out off of the earnings there, kind of still well within that earnings range as well. Now this is something that again moves with crypto, and we know that Bitcoin has definitely been a little spicy over the past couple of weeks. But something looking left right here, you attempt to kind of take a little push here on the 24th of October. You can see the significant relative volume that we were doing here that day. One second. I should have gotten stopped out of this trade here. So the fact that I haven't is very interesting right here on the Amazon. But yeah, we'll get back to that in a second, as it seems to be teetering. I did put my stop in. Yeah, it says it's okay. Yeah. Anyways, nice hold on VWAP right there on coin. It would seem that it's being held up quite nicely. Let's take a quick look at Bitcoin just to see what Bitcoin is up to. Bitcoin kind of churning around this 35 still. I've been watching it since it had this crazy pop and this push through the 30,000 mark. But yeah, Neil, since then, we've only been kind of in this chop and churn in and around this 34, 35 mark. So not really going anywhere on the Bitcoin, but coin itself definitely giving us some very strong moves. Some nice run up into earnings and looking like we're getting a little bit of continuation with that VWAP hold today.
So before we go to this, can we stay here for a second? There we go. Thanks for me. We got this super chat. Sorry, I actually wanted to get. So I was just putting a stop in on trailing stop on DraftKings there, but we got a super chat from Mohammed. What about LILM? Did you check it today? I actually did not look at this name today, and mostly. So I'll give you the reason. It's done 11 million shares. I know it's at $1. Like, how many times do you hear me say a penny stock at $1? I'm interested. So just to set it up, obviously you can like look at what happens when this was at $1, going back into the late August, early September. Wick under, supported a buck, breaks it, trend down. Now you're retesting that dollar. Now usually I'd be all over something like this. First things first, this setup, I'd be looking for a failed break of $1. Generally speaking, because you have overhead resistance at $1.10, that's a big chop zone. We have bag holders, so if it breaks $1, I'm looking for it to fail that move, and if it doesn't get above 110, I'm looking for shorts above $1 or even at 99 on the way back in. So that's how I would approach it. The issue with this stock and why it hasn't been on my radar is this. So, okay, my head's in the way. I'm just going to move it over. It's just easier for me to move it over. Look at the liquidity on this stock. There's not a lot of actual lit liquidity, so like displayed order size at any given level. You're just not really seeing it. So it's done 11 million shares, but it's not the most liquid name. And then if I stare at this long enough, and you pull it up, you're not, where the big lot, all these lots are doing D prints, right? So this is all dark pool prints. Every single print on this thing, since I've pulled it up and you guys have been able to watch it, these are all dark pool prints. So not a lot of liquidity in the lit market where we're trading, and most of it in the dark, so that if I wanted to make a trade on it, I'd need something to start happening in the lit market that we can actually play. So when I look at the tape, when I look at the level 2, it's usually in that zone of I wouldn't trade it when it looks like this, but I would be playing a fail break of $1 if I did see it. So Mohammed, it is on the radar at least a little bit. Yeah, let's go back to the desk and talk some DraftKings. We're done.
Engines for them. Yeah, let's talk DraftKings. Trying to get going once again here as we head towards the final couple hours of the day. Almost 16% kind of a day here for DraftKings. Beat for them as well across the board.
Yeah, every time we said it was, we were extended, it kept going up higher and higher on the midday show. Talked a lot about that with Dara. Let's talk about how they did in the earnings report, though. Net loss, a lot smaller than the street was looking for. $283 million they lost. Compare that to last year at this time when they lost $450 million. So nice closing up of the gap there. Revenue grew big, 57% year over year on the quarter. The monthly active users are also increasing, 2.3 million. That's a 40% increase year over year on the quarter. The average revenue per monthly user increased as well, 14% to about $114 a month. The story here is growth spurred by its expansion into new jurisdictions. Existing customers are more engaged. As I just mentioned, they're spending more money. And they just overtook FanDuel as the #1 online gambling website app in the United States, 31% market share.
Yeah, pretty impressive across the board. Not something I think a lot of people would have expected for DraftKings. I was just noticing here, there's about 9 or 8 minutes to go here in the oil session as far as the futures are concerned anyways. Oil's now down almost 2.75%. It was up 1% when I sat down this morning. So 3+% round trip on the day downside for crude oil. Thoughts on DraftKings here, guys?
Congratulations! Well, if you were long DraftKings this morning, you're certainly happy. I actually just got trailed out of the short at the high, and I'll get to the short, but let's talk about what really happened here. If you go back and watch the morning show, there were a lot of things I was basically saying. Chris RML, it's my daily chart, the 50 period on the dailies, right? So the 50 period will be 50 days, just to clarify. Which is going back and forth. It's easier for me to say it out loud. DraftKings, I was really thinking about dip buy for a lot of names today, and the theory behind that was there were so many runners and squeeze names yesterday that I really did think on Friday that anything that was strong was going to show you a very big you-know-what candle, like an FU candle, to the downside, and then you're going to have to be patient picking up. And that was my prevailing theory. I was very cautious, wanted to chase any gapper today, and I wanted to find a buying zone. And I've been burned on DraftKings trying to go long where I liked it on a breakout when I thought it was strong before. So that maybe plays into it, because my zone here was underneath 30 into 29. So that's where I liked it. Obviously, yeah, the previous top at 29. Let me go to the daily chart. 29 is the 50 period, which I was just talking about, the 50 period on the daily. So there was a lot I liked in front of the 29 level. And as it came down, I'm thinking break 30, let it get in there, and a long off 29's got to be down in 29.50. Now, if I thought for a second this was going to $34 and was a high probability was going to $34, then yes, long 30 with a 29 stop looks perfectly fine at 9:30 in the morning. But I'm not thinking it's going to $34 because that's not the way that I trade. So I'm thinking I wanted to find something where I'm risking like 1%, so like a 30-cent risk, something along those lines to try and get a dollar move, which I think is a big move on DraftKings most days. So I missed out on that, and then I waited for the only trade available, which was this one. Got a 34 half top on the daily, so I waited for it to get all the way to the top. And I didn't know where to chase the long. If I can't find myself an out, I don't make the trade. So I didn't really have anywhere that I like chasing the long. So waited for it to top out there at like 34 and a quarter. So this is it topping 34. This is 34, 34 and a quarter. The run of the high at 34, the rejection, the consolidation, the short. I really thought this was following through, and then the market was just hanging out there, and it dipped off 33. I was like, yeah, baby, let's go trailing stop. We're going to get VWAP. and all of a sudden it breaks back up. This is way too strong of a name to want to fight it, because to hold on to 33 up here on the volume it's doing is pretty impressive. So DraftKings, it was a great long if you could catch it. It didn't really set up for me, unfortunately, because this could have been, like, this is one of those ones you look back, it's like, you could have, even if I missed the buy zone I liked, I could have joined this very, very reasonably at a couple spots, like right in here at 31 again. Like, this gave you a 31 entry with a 25-cent stop. And I just told you I was looking to find something with a 30-cent risk. You could have also taken this consolidation or this consolidation and risk about 30 cents to get the move. So, ultimately, the short worked, but I'll slap a fail, because if I stuck with the notion after missing the first trade to look for something else that set up risk parameter, there were 2 longs I could have had that wouldn't have been chasing the move. So it's not about whether you're up or down in the stock. It's about how did you trade it today. And DraftKings, for sure, was on that short list, and I didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good look there. Nice short. I pulled up the chart and I was like, yeah, looking left right there, very, very clear area. The same thing that Neil pointed out. This top from before, but yeah, that long coming in off of yesterday's action as well. You have a multi-week breakout. You pretty much break out the whole month of October as well, holding that 31 quite nicely. And let me just take a look at this. Does it give you a chance to get involved at that 31 out the open? It seems like it does, and a little bit of confluence with VWAP as well. So not only do you hold pre-market lows, you break past that that earnings reaction high, and you're holding a little bit of a multi-week resistance level as well at that 31. And yeah, we've been only strong off of this level here, definitely releasing some of that buying pressure that this thing has been accumulating all the way down.
All right, let's wrap it up here with some Chinese ADR actions. It's hard to find some things that are actually weak on the day, unless you look at the oil group, as we saw. But 2.8%, nice look here as well for Chinese ADRs. Wasn't much in the way of a news catalyst this morning. It was more just the overall market strength, I think, benefiting some of these. EV stocks, it doesn't matter what you look like. What you look at, the e-commerce names as well, all up about the same here.
Yeah, everything on my watch list in Chinese ADR world is green at the moment. Yeah, the only real catalyst here was NIO was about to lay off, I think, about 300 people or so, 10% of the workforce. Yeah. Other than that, we've heard a lot about the Chinese government coming in with more stimulus with a view to expanding GP to 5% over year. So we'll have to see how that does. They've shown their inclination to follow through with that. They've had the EV subsidies and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting note on NIO. Not something we hear a lot specifically from the EV names over in China, but also any of those other companies. If they do, make those types of changes, they don't even report it, let alone have it, an international type of news story. Anyway, rundown, as always, brought to you by our friends over at Trade Ideas. Make sure you stick around for the recap. Michael Noss doing a double appearance today on the show, so he'll be back shortly after 4 o'clock with Neil to wrap things up for the week. Wants to talk a lot about what we've seen in the market this week. Specifically, if you go out to a daily chart, there's gaps all over the place. This has been an absolutely huge move to the upside for the overall market. Maybe time for a bit of a breather here. Yeah, Trader TV 20. Once again, we'll get you 20% off over at Trade Ideas.
Absolutely, and we all use Trade Ideas. We show you guys those charts all the time. So make sure if you're interested in looking at some indicators and a good platform, I was showing off their notes feature for a block. When it had a breakdown, I put a note in there. If it goes here before this time, make sure you look for the short. And it's just the kind of a platform that I think is valuable to short-term traders or active traders, to be sure. I didn't trade any Chinese ADRs. I can show you guys NIO and then tell you. Once again, sometimes it's not on. There'll be a good setup, and then it's not one of your priorities. I'm not going to complain about anything today in terms of, like whether or not you have a good day. You can always be better, but you can't trade everything. Hey, I like that. It's the like and subscribe. I'll hit the other one at some point today because Sharif was having fun this morning.
If you're enjoying this video, please take a second and hit the like and subscribe on this channel, and never forget, do not put pineapple on
That was pretty much that was a hit and run. He just hit the button and I saw him walk away.
That was good. He literally just
As
just
you were
left.
saying.
He just left, right, too, and he hit the button as he left. Okay, he got me. It is what it is. Whatever. What the hell was I saying? Oh, Sharif, I'm so gonna get you back, and I really hope Apple closes positive, and then you're giving me that stupid Starbucks cookie, because at this point, principle is priceless. So Neo, $8. I want to get to Nvidia badly. Neo, $8 hold was fantastic today, but I was looking at a lot of other names. If you were watching this morning show, you know that the chip name that I was in was not Nvidia. The chip name that is going absolutely ham right now is Nvidia. Look at the last few days. Look at it reject underneath $400, and look at how quickly we get to $450. Stock is absurd. There are sideline people that are constantly coming in here at 400. Now, I still believe we're running into trouble at this previous high. I said that yesterday. I still kind of believe it. You have a long way to go till they have their earnings, and I think there's going to be a bit of a hiccup at that price, but we'll talk about that on Monday. AMD was my early trade. Then I'll show you how I pivoted from AMD, because I pivoted to Micron and Intel, which I'm still in. So it was long AMD early, and then long AMD again, and was out of it at 111. So I started at 108, got back in underneath 110, and then got out at 111. After that, during this consolidation, to which it broke out and went another $2, I flipped on over to Micron, which had some news. And again, this is not to say this was the wrong thing to do, because Micron consolidated at 72. I liked where it was on the daily chart. Like, there's the 72 level. Okay, I like that. Let's go for the long on Micron. Took it from there up to the high of the day. Not bad. And then I go over, and I liked Intel only above 38. So there was a 38 in the morning that was no good. At the same moment, during that consolidation, I'm like, here's a 38 consolidation on Intel. Let's play that into the top. It's less than a 1% move. So, obviously, like, if AMD goes $2, that's going to be better than Intel. But then putting them together, it ends up about the same thing. But where the frustration would be is, yes, that probably works out to about the same thing. However, there's a phrase that my mother used to always say that a lot of people say, keep it simple, stupid. And so while this is consolidating, I jumped into two other longs, which put together work out to basically what you could have just done with AMD, which was the thing that I was trading this morning. So if you're keeping things simple, it would have been the same result. It's just a heck of a lot less work. That's the way to think about it. And if the answer is, well, you could have done the same thing by trading the same one stock instead of two or three, then just keep trading the same one stock, right? It's not that one is right and one is wrong. One is just easier. And I've always been taught that if you can do, you should always be doing the thing that's more simple if the end result is the same. It's one of the other principles that I have, which I'm just going to randomly say right now, is if there is ever a chance at a zero downside move with any kind of upside, you should always undertake that, right? So if I'm ever presented with a trade where it's just an infinitesimally small risk for any kind of really good gain, I'm generally taking that 100 times out of 100. And I liken that to, would you ever throw away a lottery ticket without checking it first? Right? So if trading ever presents you, and what I mean by that is yesterday when we were talking about Pinterest and that consolidation trade, where it's a very, very tight risk, and then it's an obvious upside that you saw the day before, you just sort of take that every single chance you get. And you actually had that kind of, it's not zero risk on AMD, but I liked 110. Come back to my chart. If you can come back to my chart. I liked this level at 110. It consolidates above this level at 110. It's very, very tight risk in here if I take this long. You're talking about 30 cents worth of risk to have it at 111. So a 30-cent worth of risk at 111, and the daily chart says, where is the resistance? Not until like maybe at 114, I don't know, truly at 118 to 120. It is very, very small risk to just jump into the thing that was trending up and relatively strong all day. So that's generally speaking a trade that you should just have if you like long AMD on the day. I don't. I took other things. They worked. Doesn't really matter. That was a good one. Apple, go green.
Yeah. Looking at that Neo, I guess. Continuation, right? We got that nice little bit, and I think a little bit of in step with the Tesla move as well. We kind of looked at some of the chargers and Tesla along with some of the EVs, and NIO doing pretty much the same thing here, kind of an $8 hold as well as VWAP. Now again, when were the earnings? Okay, so we had earnings in October. And the next earnings are nowhere to be seen. As I look over, a little bit of wiping of the book. That was a lot of below the bid action there on the tape. That was quite interesting there. But we are already short, so I think that kind of goes into. We're positioned for that kind of signal, I guess, already. But yeah, NEO very, very strong on the day, holding VWAP, kind of pushed past this initial this opening range here as well as the pre-market range. So maybe looking for a multi-day move here if we get some tailwind from the EV sector as well.
So we are done that old rundown, but I did not get to two things that I am in here. Like I mentioned the chip names and being out of a couple. I mean, obviously I'm out of Micron and I'm out of AMD. I'm still holding on to Intel because if we're going to break the high of the day, Intel hasn't broken that top and I like its trend. But I am in Rivian. This was a lunch money notion at that 18 level. I was sort of talking about Tesla and Tesla's rejection of the high and how it was a much more clean sort of setup for the rejection of the 18 breakout on Rivian. So I shorted the consolidation, took some out at the bottom. Then it spiked. I mean, it spiked right into VWAP, like give me a break, of course, to kind of reload that. I didn't reload this here because the market seems pretty bullish. And, well, I don't know that I need to go to the well a third time into a bullish market on the same level. So and again, you gotta have your own rules. It might still be a good short, but I'm just gonna hold on to what I have left. And if we take out this local high, I'll just get out of it. And then the other one was, heck, man, if there's another, there probably is, but if there's another squeeze name, I don't want to say like if there's another bad company that squoze yesterday on bad news or a crap report that actually broke down, I want to see it because I was looking for exactly that for something that would fade, like something that was up after a bad report or nothing positive that just got squozed with everything else in yesterday's trade that ended up breaking down its support level. And Peloton was the only thing I could find. So Peloton goes up, bad earnings, doesn't really matter yesterday, and then it breaks negative and then consolidates underneath. See you, Sharif. Apple positive, let's go. No, Sharif just left for real this time. I just wanted to remind him what we actually want to happen. And by the way, I still think Apple has trouble getting green because it has to go past 177. So I'm not just going long because I want it to go green. I want it to go green so Sharif will owe me a cookie. I don't believe that it will go positive by the end of the day. I actually think it won't happen. So just to get that one out of the way, we're just kind of messing around here. Like I actually think Apple has a lot of resistance at 177. So this was a breakdown trade on Peloton. Took the consolidation underneath that breakdown and hang on to it. I'm going to get some out in front of 5, and then if it breaks 5, I think all hell could break loose. So that is that trade. Not an apple fritter. The Shim King in the chat. You just reminded me about Marvell because this was one. They don't report. They're like Nvidia. They don't report till like the end of November, or at least close enough to it. And the other day I was like, why the heck is this so weak? Like it just couldn't go. And then I didn't set up an alert for it breaking this consolidation at the bottom. And now it's playing catch up, and I hate myself for it. Just note. I mean, the trend is obvious. The 50 is going to be at 53. And as I said, they don't report till a much later in the cycle. So it might run into some trouble in the mid-50s, but it's certainly on the way 100%. Like, that is the reality for all of these chip names. Like, whether you're, like, I have AMD up. It's just absolutely flying at this moment. I'm looking for a place. And the reason I'm always liking Intel to the long side is this. It's bouncing. Look at the trend. Like, where's the red day in the trend? As long as you find yourself an entry that you like and that you like the risk to reward, it's been good. I don't know why I didn't like the dip buy at previous close. Usually that's a trade that I like. I'll look back on that and probably hate myself for it. But I'm looking for maybe a consolidation above 38, 38.15, and then a run into the close of the day. And I want to point this out as well. So where Amazon is, I have one trade in Amazon today. And this was at that level where the big seller was. Oh, I got these bad wicks. That's annoying as hell. I'll clean those up in a minute. But right here at 139, there was a gigantic sell order that I simply punched long when that level broke. It went all of like 25 cents on a scalp trade. So I got most of it out there, then stopped out flat. So this is where it's barcoding right now is the exact same level that buyer or that seller showed up on Amazon. And it was legit. Like the second that got back through the price they were selling, it was all to the downside. and then right into support around 137. So this 139 level is not insignificant on Amazon there. Everyone's asking about like, oh, being short that 139 level. Like that mattered this morning. It was a big level. BlackRock started, shout out to the super chat here. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. BlackRock started a position in FSL and ChargePoint. These are tricky. I mean, especially, we've been talking about how bad and weak some of these names have been recently. And like, look, a firm starting a position in it isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all. However, where is the biggest risk to you when you look at, after what happened yesterday? Like, it's inevitable that most stocks are going to have bounces at some point. And that's not a bad catalyst here for ChargePoint. And you now have a couple of days in a row. Now, generally speaking, I would like to see, it has to close, it needs to close above 3. It doesn't have to. It needs to close holding on to this 3 level. At least something. I want to see volume continue, hold on to that bid without quadunking or failing these levels in the afternoon, and then come in on Monday and you're still holding out that 3 level. Or the other way I would like it on Monday morning for a continuation play would be you hold 3 right now. At 9:30 on Monday, you wick underneath 3, run a bunch of stops of people that had stops at 3, hold on to 285, and then regain 3, and you're long 3 on the way back up on Monday after everybody got jiggled out of their long. So that's a couple of things I look for a runner on ChargePoint. It's a good catalyst on stocks that need something to catch bids. For FSL's case, this is like the patented, like it's just bouncing off $1. I'm actually a little bit mad at myself because like I used to do this in my old account, and I actually did this with Tellurian. There was a question about Tellurian. I did do this with Tellurian recently, where it was just if you show me a bounce off $1, I just go long at like 105, 110 on my personal account, run the stop at like 95 or 90, wherever I happen to like it, and then hunt for the next level up and just kind of hold it into that. SL just did that. I don't see why it wouldn't just go to 150. So that's what I think probably happens here. I'm not going to trade it off that. I think that's more of a swing idea. But shout out to you. That is the classic dollar hold. The heck, Nikola's doing that nonsense right now. And Nikola, anything good about the company. I think it's probably not that great. But look at it, just hold on to the dollar. So it went underneath the buck. The second it reclaimed it, that's the daily chart. It reclaims $1 and then holds. There is one hold at $1. There's another hold at $1. The first time you take it, it's like 5 cents. And then when you get this hold above the $1, where it does not get beneath it on the day, and now you have a couple of days to the upside to work with. And it's just kind of stair-stepping up. That's a trade I absolutely love every single time. SoFi. SoFi was my worst stock today. It's probably because I like the long a lot, and so maybe didn't get in at a great price. And that's what's going to happen to you. Like, I've been in that situation before where it was good, so we liked it. I was sitting in this consolidation and then got the benefit of the big move in the afternoon, relatively speaking. And then instead of waiting for it to get to that level where it gave the win, I went for, hey, let's go long above. And I got long way above and then added. My average price ended up being like 30, lost like 10 cents on it. But the better level was the one that we had yesterday at $8. Double bottom off 8. If you just took the $8 level, we had the trade breakout yesterday, then you're absolutely laughing. So I'm frustrated with my trading on SoFi. It deserves to be my worst stock today. And I could have made it back, but well, it went elsewhere. And the only place you need to be right now is the chips. Yeah, so it's about finding a way to get back in. I like Micron in a lot of ways on this high break and where it's going, just because of the daily breakout. It's because you're breaking out here on the daily and there's clean room to 75. So I do like this one, and it's been very gently stair-stepping up. Like, this is a very clean and easy move. So I want to find the next dip and see if I can't get a rip out of it.
John Spruill in the chat saying that was a bear candle on Amazon. I don't know about that, but I don't know how you define your bear and bull candles. I'm only looking at a 3-minute here. That was some nice selling here. We are consolidating in and around that 15.2. Remember in the morning session, I was talking about how this 15.1 is definitely interesting. We kept knocking on the door of that 15.1. you get above it, you hold, and then now you test that 15.2. Now it seems like 15.2 is going to be a little bit of a trouble area for us as of right now, because we're getting a little bit of a chop. Now I'm going to let it deal with itself. But that hold on Amazon, that 139, definitely I do want to be involved. Now, we could very well be wrong on this trade, but it seems as the market kind of bids up and continues to bid up, Amazon is just slowly doing its own thing, kind of like just churning like 20 pennies above and below this 139. So not really getting anywhere, really. I think we're still waiting for like a decisive move off of this 15.2. We can see the ES quite strong on the day as well. And I think, who was it in the chat? Somebody in the chat was talking about, okay, right, Bears versus Bulls, saying SPY, new high a day. And I did pull up the SPY. Well, yeah, ES is pushing for new highs as well. But yeah, SPY very, very strong on the day. We kind of see that 430, 435 kind of come into play as well on the SPY. Now, I didn't necessarily have any trades here on the SPY, but I am going to pull it up real quick on my own charts here just to get a gauge of what potential levels we might be around. Okay, so I have here like this 435, 436 area as a potential area of interest for sure. And yeah, let's see if that kind of comes in. We are quite strong on the day, and we have held VWAP, so even a push back down to VWAP will definitely be nice here. I see that Mr. Blue in the chat saying, what a day for AMD. Wow, take a look at this. That 112 finally kind of, we broke through that 112. I know I was watching this 104.60 area. I was involved day one earnings. If you guys were here, I did short AMD into oblivion on earnings day one. Wasn't necessarily here yesterday, but it seems like we are getting a very, very strong continuation. Very strong day one. Day two is straight accumulation. I think Neil pointed this out earlier when we were talking. Very flat kind of sideways action, accumulating on the higher end of the range of this momentum that we had on day one. And take a look at today. It's a classic 3-bar pattern here. If you look at candlestick patterns here, you have a strong bull bar, a nice accumulation, a doji on the day, and then a continuation as well. AMD doing that nice. I'm sure if we pull up that day chart right here, take a look at that nice level to level on a 3-bar off earnings there, doing it on the day chart. Now, not only, I'm seeing some fresh levels here as well. That 112 that I pointed out before, kind of a level of interest as it is a multi-month kind of consolidation high on the way down. You can see right here, this 111, 112 area, we've sold off every time we kind of tested there since August of this year, right? So after we kind of consolidated above this 112, we got below it and used that as a resistance. But on earnings, it would seem that we are quite strong pushing back up into some of these levels. So the question becomes, are these sellers going to step back in at any point? That 120 looks nice, but trading at 113, we still got quite a ways to go on that push. So coming in next week, again, this was a very strong week for AMD. Coming in next week, it'll definitely be interesting to see how we continue this week into next. Very, very strong week here, as you can see. Maybe a little bit of a wick off going into the end of the day. It is Friday, right? But as of right now, it seems like AMD has absolutely no relief. So maybe I'm looking at that 112 potentially as well to show itself, right? To show its hand, to let us know whether or not this level that has shown us that it is a resistance is now going to act as support. We could be very well strong enough that we just continue to blast and just push through this level like nobody's business. But if we come back in and interact and hold this 112, I think we're poised very well for that 120 push there on AMD. ES and NQ breaking highs, yes sir, they definitely are. I got Apple here on watch as well. Apple kind of pushing back up towards its highs, but 176.40 right there. Bit of a level here as we got a consolidation triple top couldn't really get past this level, and then you kind of slowly start to push back down into that 175, and now we're retesting that area. Apple kind of a little bit sideways overall, right? A little bit sideways. Yeah, sure. We have a strong uptrend on these on the market itself, off of this 15,000, the 15.1 hold, but Apple a little bit muted in terms of that action, and we saw what it was doing a couple days before, kind of running up quite strongly into earnings. I think yesterday everything, a lot of these tech names were sold off, but Apple and Tesla, I think, were the only ones who were really significantly bid up for the whole day. Again, maybe in anticipation of the earnings report, but I did take into consideration that that little bit of a significant disconnect. You can take a look here. You can see that Google kind of sold off, consolidated all day, and the same thing with Amazon, sold off, consolidated all day, and Softy as well, sold off, consolidated all day, but Softy kind of pushing towards its highs as well. That 350, we were kind of talking about that 350 earlier today. That 350 holds quite nicely above VWAP before pushing and giving you 4 more points to the upside, as that 355 potentially coming into play. Now, something of note, we broke earnings reaction high today, Neil. I think we were looking at that level, that 352 level. We were like, oh, it can't really get above that, but we talked about the sandwich in between that 352 and VWAP, and take a look at this sandwich here. You know, we have definitely broken one side of it, that 352 pushing quite nicely.
Stop saying sandwich.
What's that?
Stop saying sandwich.
Sandwich? Why?
Well, the
sandwich?
No, the salad today, like the salad lunch that I get, was not very filling. I actually had to have some of the pasta, which I don't like eating a ton of pasta.
It was a little oily.
It was a little, it was a little kind of like okay, but not great. And so I'm hungry right now. That's what I'm getting to. But if you look at the weekly chart on Microsoft, right? Like it's all well and good to look at a daily chart. And I get it. Sometimes when in the higher time frame, when you pull up a weekly chart and you see us closing above 350, or I mean at this point closing above 350 on the week, this is no joke as to what Microsoft is doing after rejecting this on the weekly before. It's a big deal, especially if you close next week above here as well. Microsoft has been an absolute beast. Coincidence? They just started that $30 a month for the AI suite to Windows, which I think is fantastic, to Office, which I think is a huge revenue potential for them when you just consider the sheer raw number of users, like 300 million users. If 1 in 10 pay that $30, 10%, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of revenue for them. Some of that's probably already priced in, I get that, but let's be realistic about this. Has the market cared when it comes to AI? Things are already priced in. Look at the bounce off 400 in NVIDIA, which even I'm not believing right now. Apple, I've said I think it runs into trouble at 177. I get it. The market is looking very strong. I'm seeing trend resistance here. I'm seeing the 50 on the daily. This is the reason why. And then yesterday, obviously, you would have rolled over here like right through earnings. So 177, I still think it's a little bit of a short at that price level. Rivian, I talked myself out of reloading this.
What's Blizz?
But this could still be like I could be adding to this under VWAP and then trading this off. Because the market, I don't want to chase anything unless you're getting a really good dip buy on a chip name. Where's AMD at? I have a lot of these bad wicks. It take me a lot of time to clean these up, and the AMD chart's not that bad anyways. But I'm looking for some kind of a dip in here to like 112.50 or something along those lines. Intel's not providing me with much of anything in terms of an ad. So I'm adding off of the tops here. Like I need to be Intel. Like I want to be adding here, not here. And Peloton, this is just going to fall all day. It's just falling for the rest of the day as far as I'm concerned. So I'm bidding in front of 5 on Peloton. And it's consolidating here. There's a buyer at 6, bidding 7s. So it's consolidating here. I'm going to move my bid to 7. It was just closer to 5 even. This is definitely heading to the downside. Rory Alderson, what is your favorite pasta sauce? You know what? I am very, very, very simple when it comes to a pasta sauce. Like if I'm making my own pasta, like just give me, like if I do my own, I just want a typical like marinara style, little basil, and then I like to add peppers and mushrooms. I'm very, very simplistic that way, and even then just a little bit. But yeah, the basil's pretty key there. I do not like any cream sauce. I don't do cream sauce on. I'll eat it.
Chicken Alfredo?
No, I'll eat it.
I like Alfredo.
I will eat it. It's just I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll never make it for myself, and I'll never go out and choose to eat it. But if someone makes it, I'm going to eat it. I'm going to enjoy it. It's just a matter of not my thing. And pesto, my beef with pesto is that most people use too much pesto. It's way too heavy. Every time is way too much pesto. It's like, that's why I don't eat Caesar salad, because everyone puts too much damn dressing on it. I can say pasta however I want to.
What's the wrong way to say it?
I don't know. I'm a Canadian. I'll say it how I want.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds right. I don't know. Anyways, what was I looking at here? Somebody in the chat was like, "Oh, Neil, it's BlizzCon this weekend. Microsoft to the moon." And I was like, "What's BlizzCon? Is that something with Blizzard?" I know they do. I know they're a gaming company, and I pulled it up right here. Annual gaming convention held by Blizzard Entertainment. Warcraft, Starcraft, Diablo, Hearthstone, everything. So maybe going on Friday to Saturday. So it's already on right now, as of like 2 hours ago. So BlizzCon. I don't know if Softy is going to catch a little bit of sentiment off of that, but it is quite strong on the day. Now I don't know if they're going to be reporting some sort of gaming revenues there. I think it's more of like a gaming showcase, which may have investors involved, but I think that's a bit of a stretch there to kind of allude to Microsoft being bid up to the BlizzCon. Clearly, the market is being bid up very, very strongly as well. Maybe a little bit of that tailwind. Is it Softy pulling it up, or is it other things? I think for sure it can be a little bit of a mixture of a few things. So I'm gonna pull up my FinViz real quick as I try to find my words.
I'm dying reading the chat. Like I'm having way too much fun reading the chat right now.
Yeah, so right here, you guys can see we're pretty green across the board, except for Apple. So yesterday, everything else was pretty red except for Apple and Tesla. And today, we get that little bit of a flip where everything else is quite green, except for maybe a little bit of the health sector, drug manufacturers, the energy, oil for sure. But Apple...
What's jokes about that? I own UNH, I own Procter & Gamble, I own Eli Lilly, I own CVX. I'm just looking at all of the things that are red. I mean, everybody owns Apple. I could give two craps. Like when Procter & Gamble goes down, I'm looking for opportunities to buy that thing. Eli Lilly, whatever. Like it's up so much it doesn't. But you look at the strength in tech and where you're seeing this go. There's a reason it's up 1.4%. I'm not even checking to see what the Dow was at today because A, who cares, and B, it's not nearly as good, I'm gonna guess. Like the story right now is the tech names and it's the Russell. So if you're a trader, you care. And you know what's weird, because I always get made fun of because I'm older, but let's be real for a second. When you're a trader, do you care more about the Dow or do you care more about IWM? Let's be real for a second. Which one are you watching on a daily basis that's gonna form the trades that you're gonna be making? And again, I'm not saying the Dow was completely irrelevant. I'm just saying what it is. At TLT, by the way, obviously we look at that. We look at the VIX sometimes. I was asked about Tesla. I was bearish on Tesla, but decided I felt better about trading Rivian. That's my answer, because I didn't find the setup all that. It wasn't as obvious. There's a 200 period, kind of the rejection off of this 219, 220 area, and then it rejected a breakout of the top, and I suppose there was a short there somewhere. It wasn't as obvious to me as when I pulled up the same chart and looked at Rivian, and it was just much more extreme. Spike above 18, and then right away, look at these consolidate, like wick to 18, fail 02s, consolidation there, pop into 18 again. That's the 15-minute chart. And on the 3-minute chart, like it just looks like consolidation under the most obvious and easy short at VWAP you're going to see, and I probably should have just reloaded it here at 90, but I talked myself out of it because the market is strong. It's absolutely strong right now. Apple is going up. I mean, sure it is. I'm still looking to short this top, but it's got to be the top. If I think 77 is trouble, then I'm not going to try shorting, at least until it gets to that triple top at a bare minimum. For sure. D-Lo saying Shopify 62. Okay. Shop is
Today, right? Wow.
I mean, if you zoom the daily out, if you zoom the daily chart out far enough, you're really going to hate this stock. But when you look at it here, it looks pretty decent. And I don't know if this is going to, like 62, damn it. Okay, I said yesterday if it got to 62, I was shorting 62. But that it's a little different, like yesterday, if it extends all the way from 50 to 62, than it finding a base at 60 and getting to 62. So yes, I like to short at 62. I don't know that I like it today the same way. It matters how it gets there. That's the best way to think about it. So I'm not holding myself to that one. I would have shorted it if it got to 62 yesterday. I'm not doing it today. Not going to happen.
A lot of people are talking about a dump coming in. There's a power hour coming in. Was it synth? I can't pronounce the whole thing. Synth Pop Boy is saying dump incoming. And yeah, maybe a little bit of selling as the market accelerates to the downside. We are retesting kind of the lower end of this consolidation area on a lot of names there.
Accelerates.
Accelerates, yeah. It's accelerating to the downside. We were holding a little bit of a bid, but yeah, maybe not too fast of an acceleration there. We got a little bit of a push to the downside. Nothing too crazy, but something I am watching as well is Carvana. Kind of let me pull that back up here. We talked about that VWAP respect and VWAP hold, which is confluencing with this earnings reaction kind of high area as well, on top of this 32 half, 32 40s right there. Kind of that VWAP area, 32 half is the VWAP right there. So we're catching a little bit of a bid, but something interesting to me definitely is the fact that Carvana is managing to hold above its VWAP here. Now for sure the market is very strong. That could definitely be helping us out a little bit. But if this market goes a little weak, going into power hour, we only have about an hour left here, Neil, and we have been quite strong all day. So either we melt up into the close and close this week with a flat top week on the weekly, or maybe we print a little bit of a wick.
So I spent this entire time, because after you said the market's accelerating to the downside, okay, I'm going to start with, I'll get to TLT in a second. Because I started with, well, let me look at the futures. Like, okay, I can't see it there. Like, what's the case for us falling? It's still pretty strong. And then I pulled up TLT. Maybe, now just maybe, you've been trending back down in. Now this isn't, this comes down, it has to go down, market goes, this goes up, market has to go up. That's not how it works, but in a general sense, when you're getting top heavy like this, and I see this stair step down, usually I'd be looking for short opportunities. Right now, the one I would be looking for is Apple. I've said that like a million times, and Apple's not at that price. But like we're still charging off the highs, and I get it. I would see reasons if we're not going to hold here, it was like 88, that you could be breaking down, and then maybe that causes us to move down. But it's not that simple, because what happens if during this entire most of the day pullback and TLT trend back down in, the market was going higher? Well, what the heck happens if it rallies into the close? Well, then everybody thinks that we should be going down and then we don't go down. So I'm always sticking to just do what works, trade key price levels, don't necessarily worry about trying to outsmart the market and predict the direction of where it's going to go, because you don't always have to trade that way. Trade trigger, would you take Palantir short at 19? Let me go back to my 15-minute chart. Palantir was an interesting one today. Like, it was good early, then it was not good. Then I stopped trading it. Okay, I'm going to slap the fail on myself, because there was a short right here. At 12 o'clock, you guys know that I do lunch money. So from about 11:55 till about 12:20, I'm not sitting at my trading desk. And that's exactly when it retested the high, and that's exactly why I missed out on that trade. It's going at, most of the time, nothing's happening at that time, but every now and then, like and I don't want to leave orders out in a stock like Palantir. Palantir at an even dollar level, I've been like rinsed on breaks of even dollar levels before, where instead of 3 cents risk, it'll turn into like 10, because Palantir is weird like that. So if it gets up to, if it breaks 19 even, I might try something, but I'm not going to just sit in that one. I got a couple of shorts that I like a little bit better. Certainly, Matt Carnes, participate, don't anticipate. Yes. Right? Like if we start rolling over and fail 15.2 on the NASDAQ, I'm sure I'll try to join some shorts. but until I see a reason to, I'd rather be finding dip buys, which aren't even happening. Like AMD, if you're trading AMD, like first of all, like yay. B, that's not the dip I was looking for. That's the dip I was looking for. It's barely even pulling back at this point, which is completely insane at this point. And by the way, AMD, just think long.
Clearly.
What happened to my trend line? I swear I improved this trend line and it still stinks. Every time I draw this trend line, it gets worse. The general idea being that if you draw a proper trend line, like this is ridiculous. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Let's try to, that's a little bit better. It's not perfect, it's a little bit better. But since you consolidated above the break of this trend, longs into at least, until it gets to 120, think long. And every level that it gives you an opportunity to get into, oh, SoFi. Okay, so you guys know I lost on SoFi today. And now it double bottoms off of $8. So there's your double bottom off 8. Looking to go long into it, so I bid 8.12. I just got filled. Of course, I find a stock which is actually trading pretty weak today, but hey, it held onto the $8 level, so I'm going to go for the long in here. See if it can't make that breakout. The market is still strong today, and this one gave me an opportunity, so I'm going to take it here. Obviously, if it breaks $8, I'm not going to hold it through that.
Yeah, Neil, definitely. Again, I was just being, I guess, a little cheeky with that statement. You know, predicting that maybe we get a wick on the week. But Neil is 100% correct when we shouldn't be trying to outsmart the market here. Sure, I can come up with excuses.
I know what you meant.
To kind of get short here at around key areas. But yeah, the market definitely is going to do what the market wants to do. I have no idea. But here in the 80s, we got a little push on the NQs. So I covered a piece of my Amazon here. Not everything, but I still. Here's a funny thing. Still like the idea for the short, even though I don't know why. Like this is just saying, like I gotta stay in the short until it proves me wrong. Otherwise, right? We saw the kind of size, the unusual type of selling that happened here at around these levels, and I kind of want to just maybe a little bit of using that as a factor, and maybe a little bit of also trusting my gut as well, because I do watch Amazon a little bit frequently, if you guys haven't noticed. But take a look at this, Apple raging to the highs. We talked about this triple top here, 174.43s, and we are about to make new highs on Apple. So let me just pull it up here. Yeah, SPY is pushing new highs as well. Along with this Apple trade here, Apple pushing up into that consolidation area as well. Amazon, oh boy, the fugazi is definitely unreal on this one today. But okay, so Apple right here. So I did have the VIX on watch, Neil. We kind of talked about.
You're at a support level.
You're at a little bit of a level here. We got a strong reversion. We talk about how the VIX reverts. We were holding above that 20. We did a nice consolidation. You had some strong sell-offs over the past couple of weeks, and yeah, VIX couldn't really push that much further, and then we revert back down into the lower end of that range on the VIX. And oh boy, Amazon is selling off even harder. Oh my God, Neil, I got to get much bigger.
So but look at that. So look, I saw a lot of people basically commenting on OB being short Amazon. But as the market is slowly making higher highs, I should have this chart off of Paramount. I was just talking to Fabian about Paramount because that's upside. As the market is continuing to make highs, Amazon is finding the same resistance level and sliding down. That's relative weakness.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like you should be short things that have relative weakness in them, or at least have good levels to play off if you're going to. Like, we're not talking about shorting AMD. I mean, you could short AMD at the top if you want to, but we're not talking about that. Again, there's always going to be opportunities out there. You know, and you have to trade. Also, you have to trade your own book. Oh, this is what I wanted to say to that point.
Yes.
Like, part of what I was doing with that comment was something that a trader and I, when Sean and I owned our trading floor, there was one trader. We had this sort of relationship or the way we would talk to each other. We're guaranteed, no matter what we were discussing, trade-wise. If I said, "Oh, I like this," and I'm thinking this setup, automatically he's gonna point out the opposite side of it, and vice versa.
I think that's a healthy
And
habit.
so essentially, it was this 100% devil's advocate relationship back and forth. To this day, he's a day trader, the world trader. He's been trading for, if I've been trading 20 years and he's been trading, call it like 17 years, something along those lines. And to this day, he owns his own trading floor, and we still chat all the time. And we're going, it's like, oh, what did you see this today? What did you think of it? And we do exactly the same thing, where I'll say, you know, whatever, I'll say, oh my goodness, did you see like this long? I like this long, or whatever, this setup looks really good. And then he'll just launch into like the reasons why it might not work and the reasons why it might be wrong, because that's what's so good about it. Really, really smart dude, all the success in the world, I always hope to him. But I think you need that in trading. You just don't want to have like a bunch of yes people around you. So if we are pulling back, SoFi is going to stink because I'll just lose on the long again. But I really missed a chance to get more Rivian because that's starting to roll back over. That 18 and that VWAP is going to be good. However, if it bounces off 1775 one more time, I'm getting out. That's ridiculous. One more time and I'm getting out of it. Ford selling off. Is it at an actionable price? Not really. I'm only interested because I think Ford anywhere near 11 is a sell. So we've talked about this many, many times, what the $11 level has meant to Ford in particular, and how great it has been if you have been trading off of that level in your in the swing account or like your personal account, whatever the heck you're doing, as long as you're holding on to it. You were holding on to it off of 11. It was giving you like great free opportunities and paying a dividend while you were doing it, which is pretty silly. You can put that money in pub, make more elsewhere. But in terms of a stable name, it was giving you those chances, and it would go in like a month or so. Now that it's broken this bottom, I just want to short back into it if it gets back up to 11. So at some point, fair enough. Microsoft is an absolute beast. The market is at a level that I do not want to be forcing trades. But to look at Softy, like you could be scalp shorting some of these levels. Like I get it, you really could be, or you could get a 353 long maybe. That you could also do. Why is Tesla not moving? The NASDAQ futures are in a 10-handle range in the last 45 minutes. The ES futures are in the same time. I can't even, it's so small I'm not even going to bother with it. Like that's why nothing is moving. All that, some things, not that much. And now it's going to the downside. This is what I meant about I should have been adding to that Rivian trade. Because Tesla's weak, Rivian's weak, everything else is strong. This is relative weakness. If you should be shorting pops, you should be in this. Oh, and by the way, Meta. I mean, obviously, look at Amazon.
Oh boy, the market's pulling back, right?
Now,
so it was relatively weak. No, this is a 3-minute chart. We've been pulling back for 9 minutes, right? So how much time is left to print on this?
In fairness, the shortest time frame I use for the futures is 15 minutes. That's why I was sort of saying I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I do tend to use the 15-minute as well, but I guess I'm just using a little bit more of the 3-minute because I realize that the nature of some of my trading is a little bit scalpy. So I want to be able to kind of look at a smaller time frame kind of consolidations and actions on the NQs. But yeah, you guys know that I love to look at that 15-minute as well. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of a VWAP test, and this was kind of what I was looking for. I was looking for a short on top of this 139 to come back into VWAP, and VWAP is sitting here at this 138.60 right here. So we're getting a little bit of some strength off of that VWAP. So I think, you know what, for me, that's good enough right there. We're getting a little bit of a wick off action right there off the 15.2 as well, and we came right back down and tested the 15.2. Now this could very well continue to the downside and continue to go a little bit further, but as you can see, although we were heavy on the 139s, these levels right here, 138 halves, have held quite nicely, and I do want to respect that. This is power hour. We could continue to the downside, but like I said, I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback, and I think, what is this, a 50 penny pullback right there. Amazon's ATR, I think, is about just over 4 last time I checked. I think it was 4 point something last night, and yeah, we're getting about a little piece of that ATR right there into VWAP, and we're catching a little bit of a bid. So it's I think VWAP hold is definitely something. We can see that Amazon has kind of done a bit of a V-shaped recovery on the day. Wow, take a look at that, Neil. That buying pressure coming right back in off of VWAP. So great reason to buy once I see that kind of happen. And we got that wick buying happening off of that 15.2 on the 3-minute. Don't forget, this is not a 15-minute chart. This is a 3-minute chart right here. But take a look at that. VWAP gets aggressively bought up with only about 45 minutes left to go. So I think right here, this V-shaped recovery. I think I saw Zion Lala in the chat saying something about this is a good place to get short on Amazon. Maybe Amazon is setting up for the swing short. I'm trying to find your comment here. Just scrolling up right here. Okay, so Zion Lala saying, Obi, you are fighting the trend. Amazon is a good swing short for sure, apparently. Okay, all right. Listen, I'm all about swing shorting, trust me.
Yeah, look at the weekly.
The thing is, up here, yeah, on the retest, a swing short, maybe initiating a short here for the swing potential, yes, perhaps. But I think we're doing a little bit of a sideways action, right? On the longer time frame, we broke past that 100. We held below. We couldn't really get into the 75s. You push right back up. You have this nice clip off of this 120. Buyers come in real aggressive. Now, I know on the hourly, we broke past here. Let me just get this out of the way. These trends are irrelevant as of right now. But yeah, Zion Lala, definitely potential for a swing short. But here's what I'm looking at. We kind of broke a little bit of a trend off of this level here. I think I have it better marked on some of my other charts. But this bit of trend right here that we've been experiencing over the past few days. When did this happen? This happened on the 30th. So at the end of the month, it seems like this month we're going a little bit green here at the starting of the month, pushing into this 145 level. But that 145, 146. Definitely, Zion. I accept that as a bit of an exhaustion level based off of the price action that we did get. That 145 is definitely a little bit exhausty on Amazon there, and we've only been selling off of it, and we're coming right back in. So potential for a swing. For a potential lower high, potential trade setting up for the swing short for sure. I just want to see some potential confirmation here. We still have this level right here, 142.70s, 143s as well, but this 140 to 145, this $5 range, I do not doubt. I mean, I definitely agree that this is a good range to sell into for the bigger picture move. Now, definitely going to be wrong above this 146, 145 for sure on that swing short. I think that people that were thinking that idea here kind of got in a little bit underneath that 135 as well. We saw this nice consecutive lower highs happening multi-week going into earnings, but now this trend is definitely broken as of right now. So maybe a potential for a retest of this to execute that idea, but for a swing short, I don't know, maybe underneath that 140, I have no idea, but I do like the idea, Zion.
Well, I think what he's getting, if you look at the weekly chart on Amazon, okay. I think that looks a little bit more interesting. When you pull up the weekly, like previous on the weekly, there's for like 145 for like 2 years. 145 was that was actually a good support level for a couple of years, and then you rejected that last year. So when you make this kind of triple top in the same area, you know, that's why like it's easy to see when you pull out a weekly chart why you would think short this area to come right back in to the 20s. That I 100% get. I find that I don't like on day trades. I want to look at 15s and daily charts to find levels and find setups. And then for like swings or that kind of thing, I want to look at dailies and weeklies. And then for the long term, I want to look at weeklies and monthlies. It's like it just whatever is that extra chart back, that's what I want to be looking at for those setups. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. AMD's an absolute beast. Shout out to Ponzi in there. I saw you in the chat. Comp SRX as well. Shout out to all of you guys. The best thing you'll see every day, if you're in the chat, by the way, you have to be a subscriber to be in the chat. So hit the sub. Actually, you know what? He ain't here, but who cares?
Subscribe and share the show that takes you into the heart of the market every day.
I should have hit that ish like 3 or 4 times the way that guy was clowning me today.
During the midday.
I mean, he was like, the weird thing about it, I don't hit that button during the midday because I don't want to be interrupting all the time. I want to let the show do its thing. But Sharif has no trouble hitting the button while I'm on, while we're on. Yeah. So it is what it is. But and again, there you go, like the MV, 4-hour and daily for swings. Yeah, you got to find the time frame that works for you. When someone says swing trade, I don't know how long you mean. Are you swinging it for a week, or like a couple of months? And you've got to find your own zone. Everybody's going to have their own chart. Just know what works for you at the end of the day. Samir, wire streaming network stocks on the rise. Writer strike over, not that's certainly a part of it. I mean, Paramount has been, like, you're getting sympathy out of all of them. Like, actually, this is what, when I said I was talking to Fabian, it was about Paramount and Warner Brothers making power moves. You're getting a relief rally across the board. Sympathy all the way. I mean, you throw in, okay, then throw in the fact that, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter. When you have what happened with Roku as well, like Roku squeezing the heck out of everybody to the upside, then you throw in the writer strike ending. Fubo even gets a bit off of this. Like, heck, Fubo was at 320 today, up 12%. Now, candidly, I didn't read the report so all the way through, so I can't tell you how good I think it is. And honestly, it's not a stock that I follow. But like, give me a break. That's strong. So of course, I'm in, I'm out. I said in the chat, someone wanted to know what my stop was on SoFi. I said before 8 and think Mickey Mantle. So if you know where I stopped out on my 8-12 long in SoFi, then you're a halfway decent baseball fan. If you don't know, you can always look it up. It's pretty obvious. I'm a Jays fan, but Mickey Mantle was great, and obviously I know what number he wore. The market is now really coming back in. I'm going to hate myself for Rivian and not adding to this position.
See,
but it's not dropping 1775. So if we don't break this and the market rolls over, I'm just going to get out right here because Rivian is supporting the heck out of 1775.
So this is the fugazi I'm kind of alluding to here when I say that. The market breaks that 15.2, slowly grinds up about 30 points to 15.230, but during that time, Amazon stays quite muted and holds in and around this 139. Similar thing with Apple. Apple attempts to push some of those highs and can't really get past it, while the NQ slowly bids up. So I think that relative weakness that Neil was talking about, definitely I should be getting a lot more aggressive there. Maybe not even covering everything there, waiting for that move to come in. Getting a little bit of a FOMO here, as I didn't necessarily kind of hold into that move as much as I'd like to. Again, we said that we covered a little bit at VWAP, but I definitely am watching this quite closely for potential reversal, as that selling is quite heavy going into the close. Only got about 40 minutes left to go, 38 minutes left to go before the bell here, and we've gotten a strong sell-off going into the close. So I don't want to buy a falling knife here, because clearly this is falling like a knife.
Don't you though?
Maybe, sometimes, depends. The parameters have to set up.
I'm messing. I'm just messing.
But if it does turn, if and when it does turn, I'm looking for a potential place for it to give me to risk off of. Then we can take that potential turn. But yeah, that VWAP in and around, what did we say? It was around the 50s and the 60s. We covered right above that, and we're well within kind of that VWAP range. So I'm going to give it some time here, maybe a little bit of a push back up. That 15.2 is holding as well, and as I speak, I see the half holding a little bit as well. So
okay, a couple of things.
Yes.
First off, I just saw in the chat, someone just said, you got to apologize to the guy that called it a bear candle. Now, in Obi's defense, I don't know what a bear candle is.
Me neither.
I know what a rejection candle is. You could name some patterns, and I would understand what you meant by that. I just got out of Intel on that little pullback in the market. I think we're looking a little bit weak. And I don't know what candle it was on Amazon, and
I feel like everybody defines their candles differently, but I think they were talking about this
go to Obi's chart,
this
please.
Specific candle was when that comment kind of happened. I think it was either this one or that one.
Well, whatever the heck they meant.
Here's the thing, man.
Obviously, they were right.
I understood this. Okay, anyway.
I'm just saying. Like, I didn't know exactly what the bear candle was.
What are these guys doing?
You know, the guys behind us are all like, "That's definitely a bear candle," because
yes.
they just love clowning. Everyone loves to clown everybody. Look, it went down after that. So regardless of what you meant by that, very clearly it was one. But look, I'm rigging the register and not looking any gift horses in the mouth. I'm going to hit those back to back. I said if, as the market was coming down, Rivian bounced off 75, I'm just getting out of it. Because how many times do I have to see that? Should have really reloaded this. And I've said that like 7 times, but it's still true. But I'm now out of Rivian, and it was, again, just this over Tesla. I'm going to hang on to Peloton because it's going to keep going. I know we're joking about it, James Choi. Like, I didn't even understand. I didn't understand what that meant either. Which is, I'm not.
I think everybody has their own definition of like what a bullish and a bearish candle is.
Like, I don't understand.
So, like, I wouldn't know what your definition is, or I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? That's keeping that in mind. That's why I think even I asked. I don't know. Like, what do you mean by that, right?
Like,
Because it's very subjective.
Yeah, like, so I've never heard the term, to be honest with you. Like, that's what, like, I know what a rejection candle kind of looks like. Like, you're rejecting
Kill candle?
a high.
Have you heard of a kill candle?
A kill candle is like run every single stop in one shot.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this much.
46.
I remember sitting like a deer in headlights during the flash crash. So, look, I've been trading a while, and promise me, like, I'll tell you exactly what I did when that started happening. There's a function in P per weight, and if I hit shift escape, every order I have to the market just cancels at one moment.
Okay.
So when that started happening, I wasn't in anything bad at that moment. It was during lunchtime. During the flash crash, I hit shift escape and just watched a bunch of nonsense happening. I caught nothing at the bottom. I made no money going short. I just watched kill candle after kill candle on every stock I pulled up. And first thought was, and I remember, I think Sean and I even were talking, did a nuclear bomb go off somewhere? Because this was before you had a lot of the social media and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The first thought was like, what the hell just happened?
Something huge happened.
I was like, shift escape, what the hell is happening right now? And obviously it was maybe a generational opportunity to pick up some longs as a day trader, but I was not willing to do it. So those were kill candles. Brendo, what's up?
Just be aware, guys, coming up at 3:30, we're going to get comments from Fed's bar. We're going to get comments from Fed's Bostic. And also, oh yeah, the imbalances as well. 3:30 coming up here. So 5 minutes, both bar and Bostic.
Okay, so
here's a question for you.
End of day.
Is this a kill candle?
No.
That's a bear. By that definition we just saw, this is a bear candle.
Sure, yeah.
So I should have shorted here. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So like I was trying to find an
how that
example of a rejection candle, and I think the best I could come up with. It's not going to be perfect, but like to me, like this is a rejection reversal candle, which is the reason I like the short. That's a reversal candle, so that's bearish, but I wouldn't call that a bear candle. This one here, there's a name for it that I'm thinking, but whatever. But like if this is a bearish candle on Rivian, like am I shorting that? Not really. Like I'm shorting these kind of, like I want the wick. I want the wick to the top underneath. Can't go by candle. Matt Carn says he doesn't go by candle types with this trading. And I think that's right. Like you don't necessarily have to go by candlestick patterns, or like I like support and resistance. I do like some setups off of, like I want to see a certain candle off of a rejection of a support and resistance level. Like I prefer to go short if I see a wick like this on a resistance level. That's my favorite entry, to be sure. What else we got going? So 2 minutes until we get bar apparently. Why would you talk at 3:30 on Friday? But apparently he's doing it, so who cares? And then we got the imbalances coming. We'll get the early look at 3:30. The imbalances at 3:50, and then 3:30. Ponzi Fonzie, what is a Lambo candle? That's what I want to know. Show me what a Lambo candle is.
Yeah.
And then we can figure it out. Oh, this is what
Accelerates 0 to 60 in under 3 point something seconds. I think that is the Lambo second.
Just watch out when you get to 88 miles an hour. I'm just saying, watch out, because then crazy things can happen.
Oh, yeah.
The market's accelerating to the downside. Obviously, whatever it was, it's working at this point. And even, like, exactly. Even Roku's pulling back a little bit here.
The short.
Is what I wanted to get at. The short is what? You're out of your short?
Yeah, I'm out of my short. It's
I thought
okay.
you were
I gotta get better. I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I got a long queued up, so that just goes to show, like, I'm a little tilted on this on this quadunk. I was like, I didn't even hold everything to my target, and it goes like 30, 40 pennies. But I'm trying to stay patient. I'm trying to stay as calm as possible. Boys in the back having a blast, clearly at what I have to say. But that 130, 138, a little bit of a quadunk, a little bit of a heaviness happening off of clearly, shout out to a buddy in the chat, off that bear candle that we had. A little bit of a continuation happening. But yeah, very interesting that these guys would speak 30 minutes before the close.
Are they giving you grief over a winning trade? Is that what's going on back there?
I have no idea, but all I'm going to say is that I have to get good. That's all it is, right? This is my trade. I got to do much better in terms of holding this for the move, right? I talked about that, like the relative weakness, and then we also talked about, right, Neil, earlier today, when something is relatively weak, and then you get the market is strong. When the market becomes weak, guess what's going to happen more often than not to that relatively weak ticker, right? And that's kind of the basis of the idea of the short. Now here, I get short under 139. I get short above 139. I like this area. When I see that pressure coming in and the NQs ripping to the upside, I'm like, oh boy, I got to get out of this. If the NQs rip past that 15.2, I don't want to get involved if we're going to break through this. But that wipes up, I stop out, and instantly there's reserves, and it holds underneath that level, not even making that high. I'm like, all right, well, I want to get back in short. I don't care if the NQs are doing that. If Amazon is going to show me this relative weakness with respect to what the picture was built in the morning, we saw that unusual, ridiculously unusual size. So an unusual seller on the tape, a relative weakness happening. The market is hella strong, and take a look at that. Maybe Barge just said something because we're quadunking another few
Actually,
pennies to the downside.
You know what just happened?
What just happened?
Someone just said, "Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting bear candles." That's no, I can't take credit for that. I just saw it in the chat. Glenn Smith, thank you for that one in the chat. I had to say that one out loud. I can't really do that. I can't do that. I can't really do an Elmer Fudd. Heck, man, what do I look like? Afian Lockett? I can't do impressions. I did the best I could, but I don't know what the guys in the back were.
No, because I think they were laughing because I said I was tilted, and I was like, I think some buddies.
But you were short the
there.
whole way when it was going up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when it was going up, not really, Neil. It was going sideways. When the market was going
up. When the market was going
up,
you were in the short.
And I felt that relative weakness, and I was like, yeah, I want to get short. But you know what? It is just a few pennies. Again, I got to get much better at this trade here. And when the market, as I was saying, so when the market move does come in, and you have a relatively weak stock, guess what's going to happen to that stock? I think, in my opinion, it does have a higher probability to give you that flush, right? Because it wasn't strong when the market was strong. It was relatively weak. When the market is weak, it either stays relatively weak and goes nowhere, or it actually catches a sell along with the market, right? It's only sustaining, in my opinion, it's only sustaining this level because the market is bidding up. But clearly, there are sellers in and around that 139. That's all I have to say about that. But clearly, I am queued up for a long because I'm tilted. I'm looking for that next move for a potential pop, but I am stopping myself. That is a little bit of degeneracy for sure. And I think that's why we were getting those laughs back there, because Wayner definitely knows how I trade and when I mess up versus when I'm in a good trade. So I think the laughing was a little bit because of that here. But yeah, Monday, coming in Monday, we clearly have some significant prices to work with. We saw a significant seller at that 139. So going forward, I do think, and I do agree with Zion Lala, that we are potentially poised for a swing short or a little bit of a pullback. But I also want to consider, like we were talking about, the other side of that move. 140 to 145, again, I think is a good place to sell. And we were talking about kill candles, Neil. Take a look at this kill candle right here on the Amazon at that 145. Now, I think it's pretty clear to see. We just got to pull back right there. I think, in my opinion, now correct me if I'm wrong, in my opinion right here, although we got this in the pre-market, in my opinion, with the type of action, with the type of liquidity going into this right here is definitely a little bit of a kill candle. Now, if you don't want to consider that a kill candle,
I call it a reversal candle.
Yeah,
Or like I don't know, rejection candle.
Rejection. Yeah, same thing, same concept.
It's the same
so,
thing,
So
man.
basically,
It's the same thing.
the definition of the kill candle basically is pressure comes in from one side, and all of a sudden it just gets slammed into the ground, and that idea is killed on the spot. Like it's just like, nope, we are not going to go that way.
So okay, the way I usually just think about the reversal, it's like, let's just think about a stock at $100, right? So everyone's going long, it's breaking out at the $100 level. So obviously you can have shorts that stops at 100 in that situation like that. You can have people breaking out long above 100. So it breaks 100, and then the mechanics of what I see happening is it breaks 100, and then the offers get eaten up by all the stops taking it long. So all the stops start taking all the offers to the upside, right? But there's nobody actually buying above 100 to support it. So it's just stops running, buying the offer, goes to like 150, but there really isn't anybody that's getting the bid or following the bid up. So when it stops, there's nothing underneath back into 100 for when it starts to fall down. There's nobody bidding above those prices. This is the reason why when you'll see me trading a small cap stock, on a breakout, I'll be like, ooh, this is a runner. I'll pull up to level 2. It's breaking out. The spread's opening up. If the spread is opening up on a penny stock as it's trying to break the high and there's no buyers above that top, all that means is all that buying is people getting stopped. There's no one actually buying the stock above that resistance level. And if you start buying it above that resistance level, then you are getting trapped, and you never want to get trapped. So you get that rejection underneath, and that's what a wick candle looks like. Anyways, that really doesn't matter too much, but I just felt like saying it anyways. The market's coming to the downside. I'm no longer very bullish on this. We're like 335. The market on close imbalance, the early look is ocho cinco to buy, or to sell, sorry. Ocho cinco to sell, that means 85. It is incredibly tiny. The early look has a couple of Canadian banks on it for the buy side. Kenvue, which is always there. Shopify is an early sell for 500,000. Palantir is an early sell for 500,000 shares. GE is an early sell for 500,000 shares. So not a heck of a lot, but we are looking like a very small sell imbalance. The market is a slight rollover. I was looking at Apple to see if I liked an entry short. I'm thinking like, even a little pop in here, and I'd probably take a shot at shorting Apple into that high there. I thought 177, but 176.5 looks pretty good as well. Tesla trying to break low of the day. And yeah, Rivian broke low of the day too. I got out of it when it made this little bounce. Probably could have held on to it, but nah, it doesn't matter. So okay, I know ocho cinco means 8 and 5, not 85, but I don't know. If you're a football fan, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Chad Johnson, obviously. He wore the number 85, and he called himself Ocho Cinco. So anyone that doesn't get it, I know what Ocho Cinco means. I just use it for 85 because he's famous. So I'm out of this like a tool, and it continues to go to the downside. But I am looking. I look for an Apple short up that high of the day. If I take something going into 350, I'm no longer as bullish when you see that reversal. Like I have a 15-minute chart up on the NASDAQ. Like I was staying bullish until right in here. This is where like you break that down and then you're failing underneath. That's when I don't like the long. It's like this late in the day. A little bit earlier, I might still be hunting for some dip buys. If that happens at like 2:45 or 3 o'clock or so. Oh yeah, Matt Carnes, you were making a really good. So Matt Carnes was asking me for my stop on SoFi, which I did say. I said Mickey Mantle just to be cute about it, but no, I would have just said 807. I was having a little bit of fun, and he was saying the reason why is he was looking for the short at that same area with the stop at the entry price. And I can't tell you how often that's true. SoFi stunk for me. Let's get that out of the way. I am 0 for 3 on the stock. Not 0 for 2, but 3 exits. So 2 exits on 3 entries. So I call that 0 for 3, even though it's really 2 trades. That's actually 3 trades in my opinion, and the same exit to 2 of them. Right? So when I average in, I don't think that I made 1 trade. I think I made 2 bad trades. I didn't make 1 bad trade. I made 2 bad trades here, and I made 1 losing trade here. I think that was a bad trade. These are bad trades. That's just a losing trade. But sometimes, like where longs are like on a trend down, where dip buyers are liking it for support and where their stop is are good entries. I've had a million times where I look back, and the best example of that 1,000,000% was SoFi 2 days ago. Like if you remember SoFi 2 days ago, obviously on Wednesday, that's Wednesday on Fed Day. I mean, this was a good trade yesterday, but I'm talking about when this was falling down and was all the world a consolidation short, like when it made the bottom here and broke back out. Actually, Pinterest is the better example of this. Pinterest is a way better example. Like this short on Pinterest is the best example of where an exit for shorts is an entry for a long. Great consolidation short, rolls over, starts to work on Fed day, and then the second it breaks that top, it accelerates to the upside. Like my stop was right in here, and if you got long at the second my stop short happened, you were free money for the rest of the day on Pinterest, which is the entire reason. It's the reason I had the SoFi consolidation long. It's the reason I had this long on Pinterest was because of not taking that long in here. Pins didn't do anything today, so it didn't really matter. Why is Apple down in news? Apple reported, Ravi. And it's not like they beat on the top and the bottom lines. They warned about possibly a weaker holiday quarter for them. And they've had, I think it's at least 4 consecutive quarters of declining revenue. So everyone's looking for that bottom to come in on revenue for Apple. All that said, they're down percentage-wise. And I know it matters what the percentage is, where is it from the close. But if you're trading Apple today, then Apple was a strong stock trading it today. Like it opened and made higher lows the entire day, right? So it was an upward trending stock today that happens to be down 1%. That's a very important distinction to make if you're a day trader, please always make that distinction. I, for this specific reason on my quote board, always have both what is it from the previous close and what is it from the open. I want to see both those things. Like I want to see that Square is up 11%, but I want to know that it's down 3.5% in trading today. Because if I just see that, I might taint myself to thinking it's a strong stock. And this immediately will tell me, no, the stock's weak today, so don't fight it. And I could have fought Square today, and I would have lost. So Square's up 11%, but it's a weak stock today. Apple is down 1%, but it is a strong stock today. Distinction that actually matters, that I care. What else is going on here? CLH earnings call on Tuesday. I haven't really looked at that stock at all, so can't really comment on it. It's 340. I don't think I put any new trades on. You're long Amazon now?
Yeah, so I did see the kind of pop. We were pushing for that retest into 15.2, and I was like, yeah. Like I said, I was patiently waiting for a place to get long, and I was about 15 pennies in the money as we pushed right into VWAP. VWAP being that 59, 60 area right here. We push right into it, print like 55s, and then you get a little bit of selling right there off the VWAP. So definitely I am looking, or I guess closely watching the tape here to see if that VWAP is going to continue to stay heavy here. But we did kind of sell off. We attempted to push below this 138.30s. Couldn't really get too far, and then now we're slowly kind of attempting to curl maybe that 15.2, like I said, in and around about every 100 points on the NQs seem to be a level of interest. And if and when they kind of come in, I feel like you have to respect them at those times. Otherwise, it's all just whatever. It's not really that or as significant as one might think. But if a level is interacting and it is testing, we got to give it some sort of credence there. And that 15.2 and that 15.1 a little bit there, a bit of a interaction happening on the NQs as well. So a little bit of a curl here. We're looking at this consolidation, bit of a failure to follow through to the downside. And we're going a little sideways. Only about 15 minutes going into the close, right? And about 7 minutes for the imbalances to come out there, Neil. So things could get a little spicy here going into that number for sure.
So I just got trailed out of Peloton, which just shot up off the $5 level. So I mean, it's $5. Most stocks, like cheap stocks, are going to usually find activity at $5. It's also Friday, which I could probably, in hindsight, on a Friday, take it all out in front of $5. So $5, $1, $10. You know those levels are going to matter, and you're going to get it bounced off it. But I'm going to stay bearish on this next week. But I wanted to remind everybody, Sean isn't here, and obviously Obi's doing a fantastic job. But we are still doing the market recap show. I'll be here. We got Michael Noss joining us. We'll do all the good stuff. If you got questions you want to ask, if you have something you want to talk about, we'll go over some trade review. We'll do all the normal stuff for a half an hour, just like we always do. So the market recap show is still on. That's what I'm talking about. We don't take a day off in the market regardless, even if sometimes we might be running a little bit late in the morning. We're still always going to make it work. What's up, Brendo?
An interesting comment here from Fed's Bostic, still speaking, guys. The first I've heard in this indication, he was just suggesting that a policy shift for the Fed would be warranted even if they weren't at 2% yet. So that's the first I've heard in that indication, again, suggesting that a policy shift or a change would be warranted ahead of them actually getting to their target of 2%. Not much of a reaction as far as the overall market is concerned, though.
Yeah, so not really moving anywhere off of that news. We are still chopping around in the same area here. Only about a few minutes left to move into the imbalance numbers there. So I'm just going to get out of this trade for now. Pretty much, what was that? Pretty much break even. I think we lost about a penny on that. Yeah, we lost about a penny on that. That's fine. Maybe I should have posted a little bit there. Got to be a little bit more responsible with the type of orders I'm taking. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of increase in that tape speed going into the imbalance number, and I think that's fair. You usually see that kind of action coming in, and a lot of chop and churn. So I was looking for a potential, maybe some reversion coming in before that imbalance, or a reversion going into the imbalance. But it seems like, take a look at this, the NQ and the ES are selling off quite strongly, and going into that last 15 minutes, I do think that the betas might get a little bit stronger there, and so I do want to get out of this position and just give it to the imbal. Right now, we don't know what's going to show up on the imbal itself, but I do want to stay vigilant for any sort of distinct price action or maybe some size. We know we took some trades off of some significant size earlier today on Amazon, and had a couple trades on Apple as well off that 175. So we're just going to be waiting for that reaction to come right in. 5 more minutes to go. But yeah, no, it says, who's Maroon is asking, on average, how much can we make trading futures during the day? I don't know. I think that's a subjective question. If you have, I don't know, Neil would probably be able to answer that question a little bit better. There are definitely day traders who effectively trade the futures every day.
Yeah.
But how much? They're asking how much can you make? That's really like subjective to your strategies.
I mean, obviously the futures usually provide you with a very large opportunity in terms of like making a lot of money. What I will say is this, because there are a handful of successful futures traders over my 20 years with the day trading company, and generally speaking, for day trading the futures. Now, if everyone that's watched Arun that's been on the show, and Arun is still with the company, like Arun actually, he even swing trades his own personal account. I mean, when he's in day trades here, he has to be flat at the end of every single day. And what I can tell you, over the years that he has traded, he doesn't have a trade every single day on the futures. It is very different. Like if you were a day trader trading like momentum, big cap tech stocks, like there is going to be something that sets up almost every single day. If you're trading small cap, something's there every single day. I don't have nothing to really show on my chart, but you're going to find something that's there pretty much. But in the futures, it's very specific. You might not see a trade. I know this is very, very true. So the one pitfall that ends up happening is if you're trying to like make a daily goal as a futures trader, I've never seen that actually work. Maybe it does. I know there's traders that make it work. It's just here, it's a little bit more difficult. And a lot of times there's a lot of successful swing traders trading the futures. But that's just my 2 cents. I mean, I've seen, who's better to ask? We have the best community out there. I'd like Dan Emmons to answer that question if he could. I don't even know if he's in the chat. But whoever asked that question, just find Dan on the chat and ask him how often is he executing trades, and what's that kind of percentage gain, that kind of a thing, because the raw amount that you make is completely irrelevant. That's based on your buying power, that's based on your risk tolerance, that's based on your book. Everything should be about risk to reward, and then where do you see an entry and where do you see an exit. And at that point, it's just all points. Like if you're ever going back, okay, I like poker. I watch a lot of those recap hand things on YouTube. I find it a heck of a lot of fun. But the second they start talking about, oh, how much, like, who cares how much you made? I need to know, like, what are the freaking blinds? What was the actual bet? What was the situation? And what were the decisions made? Because that's where you're going to learn something.
Yeah.
If you're worried about, show me the person that's worried about the money at the poker table, and that's the guy I want to sit next to.
Oh, yeah.
Show me the guy that cares about. That's my fish right there. Who's the guy emotional about the money? Who's the dude that cares about it? That's the guy I want to sit next to because I'm taking his. That's the way my attitude used to be, because you just want to make good decisions. And trading is the same way. If you care too much about the money instead of the entries and the exits, you're going to find yourself in trouble. 10 minutes. I know.
Here it comes.
I don't really mean to throw Dan under the bus there, and not under the bus. It's just I think you're still, yeah, Dan's still here. I would reverse the question and say, what can I afford to lose in a given day? I try to keep my losses at 3 times my daily average gain over a 30-day rolling window. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. This is why we have a great community. It wasn't that I was trying to say, hey, let's put Dan on the spot here, but he's one of our viewers who I know trades the futures on a regular basis. He gives out levels, he talks about entries and exits, and he's successful doing so. So that's why I said it. You ask me a question about options, and I'm going to shout out somebody in the chat you can talk to and not pretend to be an options trader myself, because we try to keep it real around here. And I've been an equity trader for 20 years. I've dabbled in options to sell covered calls. I don't trade options myself. I've sold covered calls on my personal account. That is what I've done, and that's about it. So we try to stay in our lanes in terms of expertise. That's why we have a lot of people out here. For El Taz, you'd crush me in poker. And we have games at the office on a regular basis. I do okay. Because of what we never actually gamble with real money in the office. That would be, you don't put real money on home games because you're not supposed to. So obviously, I do well when it comes to points at the office when we have our games. So if you're ever in town and we have a poker game on the trading floor, all are welcome. I hold my own. I don't think I'm the best player in the world. I'm definitely not. I'm just, I like playing poker. The market is now past imbalances, and I was rambling past it, so that's on me. Just yell at me. TLT, 2.5 million to sell.
Oh boy.
6 million to buy is the overall number. TLT is the big sell. You also have NU, 1.4 million to buy. It's a cheap stock. Cisco, 1.3 million to buy. What else we got going on here? XOM, 900,000 to sell. Siri, who cares? Amazon, there you go, is a big cap tech name. 500,000 to buy on Amazon. Apple, 500,000 to buy. Palantir, that's early look, who cares? Shopify. Shopify is a small sell. Very mixed board here. I think the interesting thing would be that you've been seeing imbalances on TLT on a somewhat regular basis, and 2.4 million to sell is actually the biggest one that I've seen on the week. Where are we going to end up closing on TLT? I'm just curious for myself.
What is RTX?
Like, did it break that trend to the downside? If the last thing I looked at is a New York stock and I hit TLT enter, it's going to pull up New York. So that's a bit frustrating. Yeah, you're going to end up going just reversing back in. So it continuously was dropping. What's crazy about that is if you just stuck with the notion that, well, eventually it's going to be a sell as this is trending to the downside, well, you would have found yourself a short that worked. But if you had that theory all day long, this is a correlation that doesn't always have to hold. That's very important when you're trading. Just understand if you trade something and it's a setup that it's only going to work most of the time. Aces get cracked all the time. Sometimes a guy plays a hand blind and he needs to roll over pocket twos to beat you, and he flips 2 twos in a row, and you walk out of the room and are done for the night and take an Uber home with a sad face. That was me once. But it is what it is. You move on to the next hand. Like, I had the guy dead to rights, and if you probably have been able to trade using TLT as a good confluence or a good indicator for a while. Today probably got you destroyed. If you were too stubborn about it, you probably got rocked today, thinking we were going to pull back all afternoon.
Take a look at Apple there, Neil. Apple is making brand new highs with less than 10 minutes left in the day. That's definitely something,
Come on,
something
centipede.
to keep in mind going into next week. And yeah, are we positive there, Neil?
It's 0.5% down.
It's 0.5% there. Okay,
yeah,
so we got to move another 0.5% in
so
about 7 minutes.
I have to go to the desk in a few minutes to set up for the after show. But can you I just want someone screen cap it if it goes green.
Yes.
And then screen cap it and then message it to me so I can get it immediately to Sharif. If this thing, all it has to do is tick green. Just one tick, and that's all I want to see on Apple. And then Sharif is going to be getting a Starbucks next week. He shouldn't have to, but I'm going to make him do it anyways. Wow, Apple.
Yeah, absolutely wild. We're
I'm
getting a
surprised.
bit of a
I
bounce.
said I didn't think it would go green today. I said it in my morning note. I said it about 12 times during the day. And I still kind of believe it, but I'm happy to see that it's happening. Oh, this is great. So everybody just check this, because I'm going to retweet what I just read from Dan there. Because it was a good question. How much can you make as a trading futures? And I thought Dan had a fantastic answer to it. So I'm just going to co-sign it, because that's what you do on the X machine, or the X machine. On the Twitter, the Twitter machine? I don't care, like whatever you call it. It doesn't really make a difference. I hate X is just weird to say, but yeah, it's obviously a great answer to that question, because you should start everything from your risk parameters. Every trade should be like just where's your in, where's your out, and then manage your own book. D Low forgot to mention I started day trading campus program on Monday. Oh, that's fantastic. Any tips? So. The number one tip I use for anybody starting at Day Trade the World, especially when they have trading experience, is when you first sit in front of the platform, worry about learning the platform and not the trading. I know for an experienced trader, it can be boring and annoying, but just do it anyways. There's always quirks in a trading platform or little things that you need to master that you need to do. So just do that first and don't worry about the trading aspect of it. Get that basic part down. Because I saw a trader come from like 10 years of working at a bank, and then he wanted to go right away. He's like, I don't need simulation mode. After one day, he's like, yeah, I should probably be in the simulator for a little bit to learn the platform. After one day, and he was in the simulator until we went to platform.
The market is all humbling.
He was legit. Like, he's a good trader. I mean, he traded 10 years at a bank. Was like, yeah, this is a little bit different. I should be in the simulator to figure it out for one day. Let's get to the desk to handle some business as I make the move to get ready for the close show.
Brought to you by IG.com. Trade Forex pairs like Euro USD with spreads as low as 0.8 pips and zero commissions at IG. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, definitely a wild day there, Neil. We are bidding kind of back up. I'm watching this Amazon as well, kind of consolidation happening here on the NQs. Done. I think I'm pretty much done for today. So let me know in the chat how you guys traded today. Any specific names that you guys were interested in, or maybe you guys caught some sick chops, or you guys took some big losses, or whatever. Let me know what some of those names were in the chat, and maybe we can take a quick look. We got only about 5 minutes left till the bell, but as of right now, a little bit of a story time. I feel like I have some explaining to do for my tardiness this morning, so we can get on with that. I apologize again for being quite late this morning. A little bit of an outlier morning indeed. Something happened last night where I was just like, my family was leaving on a road trip, and I was unaware that one of our cats had gotten outside overnight. So wake up in the morning, before I leave, I normally feed my cats. So I see that one of them is totally missing. So I'm like, where did she go? I check the whole house, and I'm tripping out. I'm like, okay, nobody's home. Where could she have gone? I check under all the beds, check all the closets, make sure she's not locked anywhere. I shake the treat bag. The market is still blasting to the upside, and she's nowhere to be found. So I start tripping. I'm like, maybe she's outside. So I give him a phone call. I'm like, hey guys, did you see her go outside last night at all? And they were like, oh, when we were moving bags, the door might have been left open for about 15, 20 minutes. So I go outside and I check. Lo and behold, guess where she's sitting? Underneath the neighbor's bushes. Sleeping, chilling, minding her own business, zero issues, zero regrets in the world. And I'm like, oh boy, oh my God. So I pick her up. We spent some time by the fireplace, warming her up. I'm so glad that last night was not that cold. But you know what? It's a cat. They can take care of themselves quite well. But I got a little bit definitely flustered in the morning because I was like, where did she go? She could be anywhere in the neighborhood. But yeah, that was a little bit of reasoning why I was a little late there. Spent about 45 minutes to an hour just looking for her this morning, and I'm so glad that I found her. Gave her some treats. We sat by the fireplace for a few minutes, and then I left to come here. And as you guys know, got in about I think 9:15. The sticky note still blank. Has not happened in a very long time. But you know what? Mischief managed. I think we did all right today. Learned some decent lessons on the day here. Decent long on the Apple again. 175 long was nice. We confluenced that with that 174, kind of a key area hold, and then confluenced that even more with that 15-1 kind of hold as well. Okay, so I think we got about a minute here left to go. I gotta see the count. Okay, I got the countdown timer ready to go. But yeah, I'm glad that I wasn't too flustered coming into the open here. As Amazon, yeah, I took that initial short, was wrong right away. Well, 139 comes right back in, but I love the short when it does that kind of action to the upside and fails to break through of its top, and then we get a little bit aggressive on the short, holding it down until it tells us that that it might be consolidating for a little bit longer. Get involved again at that same level, and unfortunately don't hold it for the full move there. But going into next week, some interesting levels indeed. And here is the countdown. So we only got about a few more seconds. Countdown's a little bit laggy, but we only got 3, 2, and 1. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending the week with us here. And shout out to everybody who makes this show a possibility. And I think that they might be ready at the big desk, but it will be goodbye from me for now. And I will see you guys next week. But don't go anywhere, as Neil is at the big desk right now. Take her away.
We are locked and loaded. It is the market